Hello again. This is week 18, day 2. The Feast of Theophany is celebrated today, January 6th, on Wednesday. We're going to read the special prayer written by Saint Sophronios of Jerusalem for the blessing of the waters today. On every January 6th each year in the Orthodox Church, we bless the water in celebration of the Feast of Theophany, which is itself the celebration of the Lord's baptism by John the Baptist in the Jordan River. And in being baptized in the Jordan, we understand that the Lord is not blessed by the water. He blesses the water by entering into it. So this special prayer that we'll read part of it. It's only used on this feast day, and it talks about what happens when the Lord is baptized and reflects on how all of creation is changed and transformed in this moment. By the way, before I read, remember all of this is on the web. The URL is theruleoffaith.typepad.com/REI for Religious Education Initiative, REI. And you can follow along on your phone, or ideally read it yourselves and talk about it as a family and ignore me unless you're curious what I have to say. So here's the reading. We glorify you, the Creator and Fashioner of the universe. We glorify you, only begotten Son of God, without father from your mother, without mother from your father. For in the preceding feast we saw you as a babe, but in the present one we see you full and perfect man, our God made manifest as perfect God from perfect God. For today the moment of the feast is here for us, and the choir of saints assembles here with us, and angels keep festival with mortals. Today the grace of the Holy Spirit in the form of a dove dwelt upon the waters. Today the sun that never sets has dawned, and the world is made radiant with the light of the Lord. Today the moon with its radiant beams sheds light on the world. Today the stars formed of light make the inhabited world lovely with the brightness of their splendor. Today the clouds rain down from heaven the shower of justice for mankind. Today the uncreated by his own will accepts the laying on of hands by his own creature. Today the prophet and forerunner draws near, but stands by with fear, seeing God's condescension towards us. Today the streams of Jordan are changed into healing by the presence of the Lord. Today all creation is watered by mystical streams. Today the failings of mankind are being washed away by the waters of the Jordan. Today paradise is opened for mortals, and the sun of justice shines down on us. Today the bitter water is changed to sweetness by the presence of the Lord, as it once was for Moses' people of old. Today we have been delivered from the ancient grief and saved as the new Israel. Today we have been redeemed from darkness and are filled with radiance by the light of the knowledge of God. Today the gloomy fog of the world is cleansed by the manifestation of our God. Today all creation shines with light from on high. Today error has been destroyed, and the coming of the Master makes for us a way of salvation. Today things on high keep festival with those below, and things below commune with things on high. Today the sacred and triumphant festal assembly of the Orthodox exults. Today the Master hastens towards baptism, that he may lead humanity to the heights. Today the one who does not bow bows down to his own servant, that he might free us from servitude. Today we have purchased the kingdom of heaven, for the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of the Lord, will have no end. Today earth and sea share the joy of the world, and the world has been filled with gladness. The waters saw you, O God, the waters saw you, and were afraid. The Jordan turned back when it saw the fire of the Godhead descending in bodily form and entering it. The Jordan turned back as it contemplated the Holy Spirit in the form of a dove descending and flying about you. The Jordan turned back as it saw the invisible made visible, the Creator made flesh, the Master in the form of a servant. The Jordan turned back and the mountains leapt as they saw God in the flesh, and the clouds uttered their voice, marveling at what had come to pass, seeing light from light, true God from true God, the Master's festival today in Jordan, seeing him drowning the death from disobedience, the goad of error, and the bond of hell in Jordan, and granting the baptism of salvation to the world. Therefore I too, a sinner and your unworthy servant, recount the greatness of your wonders, and seized with fear and compunction cry out to you, Great are you, O Lord, and wondrous are your works, and no word is sufficient to hymn your wonders. Now, as a priest, there aren't many more joyful, more triumphant opportunities to proclaim the gospel of the Lord than the chance to read this prayer once a year. And I'll be honest, I picked it partly so I can get double dip a little bit and get a second chance to read it. But there's a little bit more going on here than we might immediately understand. Obviously, first of all, the major points are this repetition of today and the repetition of the Jordan turned back. The statement today really has to remind us of, if you will, 2 points. The first is that the consequences, the effects of the Lord's baptism, and more broadly of his incarnation, of his entrance into this world, are still with us today. We are participating in the joy, the victory, the glory of the Lord now, even if this happened 2,000 years ago. The second point is, and the way in which we participate in this is by coming to the church, is by celebrating the Feast of Theophany, is by blessing the waters, is by remembering what happened, but entering into the events of that day even from now. We are blessed in the church to transcend time. We participate in the one baptism of the Lord and the transformation of all creation that penetrates all of space and time from that moment. The other thing we need to say, though, the Jordan turned back. There is a military air to this prayer. We speak in terms of conquest, of victory, of the triumph of the Lord over his enemies. And what we tend to miss as modern day people, we understand that water is the thing that gives life. Water is the thing that permits life to exist. So we tend to think of water as almost universally a good thing, only bad if you're drowning. But for the ancients, water was seen as the element of chaos, as the domain of demons, of angry gods. And of course, we can sympathize with this in moments of storm. If we're out on a large lake or on the sea, then we experience again the terror, the might, the power of water in all of its chaos. And we can begin to understand the sorts of things that the ancients would have felt and thought. But what we see here is the Lord uses this element of chaos, this fortress of evil gods who oppose and dominate and destroy humanity. The Lord tramples that down. He seizes that power. He makes their domain instead an instrument, a vessel of grace. He makes the water the first piece of his restoration of the creation. And he delivers us by means of it. He delivers us from it, from chaos, from slavery to our passions, to the demons, to evil gods of ages past. And he leads us into light and freedom and salvation and glory. So this is what we're celebrating on the Feast of Theophany. This is why we bless our homes. This is why we drink the water. This is why Theophany is really, as a feast, second only to Pascha, as one of the great feasts of the life of the church. So, Chronia Pola, a blessed feast day, and I'll see you all on Friday.